All right. Howdy. We're live. We're doing this.
We are doing this.
We're doing this. Let's go. So who do we have here with us, Taya? I have some.
How about you introduce them?
Yeah, sure. I got some of my brothers and sisters from the battlefield. We went into the arena together. Blood, sweat, and tears together. Highs and lows together. And I can't wait to introduce them to you, Taiha, and to everyone listening at home. Taiha, you're a hero on this journey. We're bringing you into the winner's circle.
I basically joined Go For Your Win literally 1 week ago. Last Wednesday, I purchased the course. I have followed Aubrey Marcus for a long time and really enjoy listening to his podcasts and his messages and everything. And I have been trying a lot of things throughout my life, but I know what my life's calling is. I'm just trying to figure out, how do I start my own business? How do I start getting this all rolling? And I was called to join this course. And the course has a online community, which is incredible. There's so many like-minded people in that community, and that's where I met Derek, and he met these other three. And I honestly, I wasn't gonna post my intro post originally, and for some reason I just had a gut feeling to, why not just do this? And I've learned to be pretty open with my journey, because I know that a lot of people go through similar things yet don't share it. And the more you share, the more power you have, and the more you allow other people to step into their power. So I shared about how I was a state champion wrestler. I worked really, really hard for that. I had never worked so hard for anything in my life. I also was a national runner-up, and I learned so many skills from that experience. However, I also developed some issues through that. Since I was 15, I wrestled, and I'm 24 now, and I've dealt with eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and just through the weight cutting, and also just lack of worth, lack of self-love, I developed those issues. But I've learned a lot more than I think most people could say that they have about true compassion for myself, and I'm super far from where I used to be. So there was that part of the story. The other half of my story is I was studying mechanical engineering. When I started studying that, my parents were like, really? You really want to do that? And I just did it because I thought it would make me a lot of money and it would make me look good. And I graduated. I did really well in school. I was good at it. However, after working in the field for 1 year, and I worked in pretty cool jobs, I worked for a company that built satellites, which was really cool, in the propulsion department. However, the day-to-day was not in alignment with who I knew myself to be. I knew I wanted to work with people. I knew that I wanted to directly impact people's lives, and I just wasn't passionate about it. So in 2018, end of 2018, I leaped into the unknown, and I followed my passion in fitness because I've just been very active my whole life. And I worked for a corrective exercise company. I'm currently a personal trainer specializing in corrective exercise. And it's been really awesome learning how to work with people and helping them improve their bodies, improve their mindset, because if your mindset's not there, your body's not going to be there. But I feel like something's missing still, because I know now that my true calling is to help people fall in love with themselves and fall in love with their lives, and know that they can live a life that they're totally in love with if they want to. And I want to do that through holding retreats for people and cultivating human connection through meditation, breath work, movement, food, art, all of the stuff that I love to do and that has improved my mental health so much. And so that's pretty much what I posted in the group. And Derek just messaged me and said all this crazy stuff, like wanting to help me step into my power and see how powerful I was, because I told him that I love Aubrey and he's so awesome. And he said, you know, you're at the same level as him. Like, he is just another human and you have that same power. And we all in this group, Go For Your Win, have that same power. We just have to believe in that and see it. And Derek is, in the past week of talking with him, already helped me see that for myself so much so, and bringing me into his circle and introducing me to these awesome people who I'm super excited to learn more about and learn from. And Derek, you can take it away.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing a bit of your story, and I can't wait to like the audience, like the people listening to this, to get to know like more and more about you, Taiha. Say hi to Taiha, Layla, Eric, Sloan, and Luis.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello. Taiha, that was really beautifully articulated. So thank you for showing up in your power and your vulnerability, and even accepting the challenge of being seen. Commend you for being on your journey and expressing yourself, because I think where you are now is somewhere that can like help someone that's like 5 steps behind you and just needs a mirror to be able to reflect back at. So thank you for heeding the call.
So much.
Excited to do it with you.
Yeah, so why I reached out to Taiha and like why I'm even in Go For Your Win 3. Like I took Go For Your Win back in 2016, and Aubrey was my small group mentor, and that was a good experience. And Connor Moore was also there, and I'm grateful for both of them. And that's where I met you guys. And why I went into Go For Your Win in the first place is I thought I was living my win. I was a full-time yoga teacher for 2 years. I was teaching fitness. Like that's what I quit like the 9-to-5 world to do. And I got there and I was like now what? So that's why Go For Your Win called to me. And my biggest learning in Go For Your Win, really, I didn't really like, there's a lot of the stuff we discussed in the Go For Your Win manual. Everyone on this call, we know most of that. We've been living this self-care lifestyle for so long, prioritizing our mind, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health. But the big takeaway for me, and it was on the very first page of the whole manual, is by going for your win, you're winning. By moving forth in the direction of where you want to go, you're there. Process over destination. And halfway through that course, that's when that big key came into me. That big click, that big aha came for me. And then the other huge takeaway, way more valuable than the resources and the stuff we learned in the class, was the community. The community formed in the Facebook group. And then when we met in person for the Go For Your Win graduation weekend, our connection. And the connection I made that weekend was so good. I came back a couple weeks later, I think, or a couple months later, for a Baz Rutten seminar, one of my idols in mixed martial arts. I've been a mixed martial artist, a martial artist for over like 12, 13 years now. I started with Hapkido and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing for over a decade. I used to love wrestling. I wish wrestling was bigger in Canada, because that's my natural. Like everyone thought I was a good wrestler. That was my skill. So when I was going and then for Go For Your Win 2, I led local mastermind. So inspired by you guys had such an awesome mastermind that you formed during and after Go For Your Win 1. That include Eric, Robert, Blake, and we could get into that a bit. But I got inspired by that, so I created a group. And so it was my friend Jesse, who's kind of like, I kind of knew him kind of okay, and then 2 of his friends. They came to one of my yoga classes. We got talking, and then we got talking about Go For Your Win, and then it just ended up Go For Your Win was starting that week, and I offered to mentor them through the class. So each week we get together. They do the readings. We get together. I'd mentor them. I hear all their answers. And I hosted my own small group mentorship group as inspired by you guys. So the third time this came around, like I am living my win. I'm a speaker, a yoga teacher. I have my hero project, which I'm so like, I just love. I love going to schools and empowering children with choice. And lately I've been doing this also with families at home. So empowering them are the last of human freedoms, our most powerful changing to a choice. And then through all that, I've got into the acting industry, and just doors keep on opening. When you're following your heart, when you're in your bliss, like doors will open where they never were before. And that's really is something that Joseph Campbell talks about in his hero's journey. And that's one big thing that Eric Godsey, our friend, loves, the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, and who else you guys all know, Carl Jung, right? So since being on the hero journey was such a big part of my being right now, and Eric, during this time we're all at home right now, he's doing more and more Instagram live. So I just got to like hear my old buddy again talking about the hero's journey, and I was just listening to everything because it's just fuel for my flame. So when Go For Your Win 3 got announced launching, I still didn't have really interest, but I heard that Godsy's going to be doing a Friday morning Q&A every morning at 10 a.m. And so I wouldn't miss that. So I was going to go in for the group, but I just didn't want to be a leech. I just didn't want to leech in and like hear all this wisdom without giving back. So I reached out to Godsey. He asked like, what kind of questions you have for me? And I said, like what I just told you, like I'm not feeling the call for Go For Your Win 3. I led a group through Go For Your Win 2. I went through for Go For Your Win 1. I said yes to the call to action, and I'm living my win. And how can I be of service? Because I just don't want to come here and take all your information from you and take nothing back. That's rude. And so I let that message, and then I went to put my post in the group to introduce myself, and just saying, this is me. I did my Go For Your Win. Here's some tips for you. I don't know how much I'll be in this group because right now I'm doing Eric Godsey's Making Your Myth 2.0 class, which I'd recommend anyone listening to check out. ericgodsey.com. I'm doing that course. I don't know how much time I'll have. And that course has me journaling every day and the 90-day challenge of journaling every morning with that. So I just went in the group, wrote that, posted, and then I thought, like, done. Like, I'm pretty much done with this Go For Your Win group. I'm going to listen to Eric's calls, and we'll see what he says. And then right under my post, I saw, like, this, like, beautiful woman, like, blue sky, and, like, all, like, I don't know, like 150, 100, and, like so many likes. Other posts have, like, 10 likes. She has all these likes, all these comments, like, what's going on over here? And I look, and like the first thing that caught my eye, she's a badass wrestler, runner-up nationally, state champion. Like as a martial artist, like I know that's no joke. Wrestling practice, wrestling lifestyle, like that's like you grind. So I know this girl knows how to grind. And not only is she a wrestler, she's not girl. This woman knows how to grind, and she's also an engineer. And like an engineer, like that doesn't fuck around. Like that's hard. Like I know engineers, and like that's legit. And I just kept on reading her things, everything she talked about, like lack of self-worth, lack of self-love, a passion to want to help people, really successful in school, getting all these accomplishments, and then getting a great job even, which I had, and like didn't like it. Like everything lined up, like her passion for corrective exercise, fitness training, meditation. And one thing I know about the hero's journey is once you go out in the battlefield, once you get out in the arena, get covered in blood, sweat, tears, which I've done with you guys, Layla, Eric, Luis, you go home. You go home and you share your gift with the new hungry wolves out there. And Taiha's a hungry warrior. And I knew that was the only thing that was going to keep me in Go For Your Win 3 is if I linked up with a five-star person, because that's who I want to be. And to attract five-star people around you, you become it. So I sent her a message, and we're here now, and we're in it. And I can't wait to introduce Taiha to everyone in my circle, the people that got me to where I am today, because there is zero chance I am here where I am today if it wasn't for each and every one of you on this call. Layla, thank you. Sloan, Eric Sloan, thank you. Luis, thank you. And I love you. And all the other guests we're going to be talking are badasses who have stepped up, said yes to their win. And I want to introduce them to Taya and say, hey, like you belong with us. Not in a year from now, not in 5 years from now, right fucking now. And as soon as she recognizes that, like the path will light up, and I want to chase her up that hill. So yeah, that's how
honestly, I no joke, like in the past week, just through this beginning of this course and like thinking about things that you were talking about, have I truly like seen that, and I've like kind of believed that, you know, things are gonna happen for me, and like I believe in the path that I'm on and the flow of the universe and everything, but never have I ever believed that it could happen right now, or that I was at that level right now. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people deal with, is that they're thinking that no matter what, like even if they've done a lot of this work, we're still always thinking about someday we'll get there. We're not fully believing in the present now, and like that we all have that power within us. It's just been buried by like limiting beliefs that we have learned throughout our lives. So I hope through this call, and we're going to do a lot of them, that people in this group can see that they can have the same transformation that I've had in the last week themselves if they start believing.
Yeah, absolutely. People in this group and everyone listening, because that hero in me, that hero that I see so clear in Luis, Eric, Layla, that I've seen in action. I see that in you, Taiha, and I see that in everyone. I want to get there. Maybe I don't see that in everyone now, but when I see that hero in you, I'll be able to see that in this person, in this person. So I'm looking for heroes. I'm looking to awaken heroes, and we start here now.
Yes, sir.
So I guess we can get started with these questions that we would like to ask you, unless you guys, do we need to do like a quick, like what do you guys do? What is your name? What do you guys do? Where do you live? Something like that.
That's great. Luis,
start.
I am Luis. I live in Austin, Texas. All of us are in Austin, where we met during the Go For Your Win. Most of us. I knew Sloan before this, but I currently work. I'm starting an agency doing brand strategy and marketing. And this group, like Derek said, it's been a very useful kind of support group throughout the journey, you know, since, is it 4 or 5 years ago? So I'm happy to be here and help, and, you know, kind of see what kind of value and advice we can show you guys, you know, as far as like how to go into this, what we learned from it, where we're at. So this is good.
Thank you. Awesome to have you here, brother. I love you. Great to see you. Sloan, Eric Sloan. There's 2 Sloans in my life now.
Yeah, so I am Sloan. Nobody really calls me Eric. Everybody calls me Sloan. Yeah, I knew Luis from another like basically like week-long boot camp type course that we had both done, not at the same time. And I was kind of in a similar boat as Taiha, where I was like, so I came home I was living in California, and I came home and I just realized I was super unhappy with my life in general and the career and all those sorts of things. And I just like made a decision to like, I was like, I got to make some sort of fucking change. And so I quit my job and I moved out here to Austin in some really weird, like string of events. And right around the same time, like the Go For Your Win course launched. And yeah, so that's kind of like, it was just like a time of transition, and I was into the whole On It thing and Aubrey and all this and that, just like Taiha. And yeah, so that brought me to the Go For Your Win course. And then, I met Pang, I met Layla, and Layla, I know we're going to talk about masterminds. Like, Layla was super important in all of us, like, really becoming like a tribe and a family out here. And she kind of like took that lead. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Eric Sloan.
Yes.
Thanks
You
for
got a cool last name.
Layla.
Yes, sir. Reporting for duty. Yes, sir. All right, so I'm Layla. I joined the original Go For Your Win group, and it came probably 6 months after I had attended an ecstatic dance with Aubrey. And even just going to an ecstatic dance, it was the first of its kind for me, where I was like, wow, a bunch of like lively, happy people in a group setting, in a beautiful setting like Black Swan Yoga here in Austin. And it was actually led by Aubrey Marcus. And although I'd heard of On It and I'd heard of Aubrey Marcus, that was the first time there was like a connection. And from that point, I started listening to his podcast, and there was so much resonance with what he was sharing. And he has this quote, like, you feel truth because it's a vibration that you feel. It's not just words that you're receiving. And listening to his podcast, there was just so much vibrational expansion for me, where I was like, who is this teacher that's just showing up in my world? I really feel like this is one of the mentors that I've been calling for. And at the time I was doing nutritional sales and education, and I was grinding and I was burnt out, and I was like getting deep into my adrenal fatigue, and I was calling for answers. I was like, I need guides, I need mentors to help me down this path. And I haven't found people in my community that I find are on a equilibrium and balance in their life, where they're on this quest and this journey for self-development. And finding Aubrey in the podcast was the first time I was like, I resonate with a lot of this, like, find tools for your own self-development and your optimization. And then I think it was in November where he launched Go For Your Win. I was like, all right, this is me heeding the call. Like, the teacher is putting out, support. So I joined Go For Your Win with a friend, Yannick, who did the course. And we kind of went through it together. And then the day of the graduation is when I met you, Derek. I remember clearly, we were walking out. It was kind of like towards the end. It was a beautiful sunny Sunday, I think, in Austin. And literally just walking out, I turned back, and there's you just smiling, just beaming, full Derek Pang energy. And you're like, hey, what are you doing later? Are you going to the Go For Your Win mansion? Because that year, a lot of the attendees had put together like an Airbnb. And you were there with Blake Andrews, who's another one of our tribesmen. And I was like, no, I'm not going. I'm actually going to a closing concert. But let's exchange info and let's stay in touch or whatever for when you're in town. And I remember just meeting you guys, as well as a lot of people at that graduation, and just thinking, these people have that twinkle in their eye that I'm missing in a lot of the connections in my world. Like, there's energy that people are developing. When you're just or you're out and about, you don't see that like with just people our age group. It was the first time that I was like, wow, there's like a building full of people that I resonate with as far as what they're into. And so we stayed in touch, and you came back in town, as you said, like a month later. And I was like, hey, do y'all want to come over, you and Blake? And I have podcast equipment. We can just talk about our experience.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. You tried to do some martial arts skills on me.
Oh, yeah, martial arts. We did, like, acro yoga. You brought Rob with you. You're like, I have this friend that I met, and he did the course, too. I think he would just be such a good fit. Which, funny enough, me and Rob ended up really kind of like having some synergy, and like we were partners for like a little over a year. And then that transformed into like, I think you went to True Food one night and you met someone that was like, oh, you should meet my friend Godsey or something like that. Like One of y'all made a connection.
I don't know.
Gotsi sat at our table, at my table during the graduation. And right after that, I think it was True Food that we all met.
Amazing.
I thought it was Thai Fresh.
Yeah. Thai Fresh, you're right.
Thai Fresh.
Thai Fresh.
That place is the best.
Yeah.
That's our
So pretty much like from that point, it was like, all right, let's get together. And at one point, like we all came together and it was a joy hosting. I was like, wow, like-minded people, and let's get together and just talk about where we're at, our journeys, our experience. And I mean, it's amazing to think that 4 years ago, our lives were so different and we play such integral pieces in each other's lives, and like the capability that exists in creating a tribe and family if you just find people that are on the same wavelength and have a similar mission. And we've held true to that. Like we started doing masterminds twice a month, every other week, which is, quite the dedication. And then it turned into, just like poker nights and UFC fight nights and like going to work. The first day that when he came back, Derek, we went to ecstatic dance in the morning with Nate Willard. Nate Willard was another one that did Go For Your Win. We met at the graduation. Rob, Kane, Blake, and then we just spent a day just like being at the Springs, and then y'all did some journaling or something with Connor Moore, and then we went to Casa Luz. We just
always stayed in touch, and like we're action takers, and that's what it has to be. You have to be leading with your heart, but also with action. Otherwise, none of this would have happened. It's also listening to your heart. Like when Taya was saying why she posted on the group, me too. I just had a feeling to post, and then I just had when I read her thing, I just had a feeling to reach out to her, and then I just had a feeling to create this idea. And I'm just listening to my heart. And when we allow ourselves to get quiet, which so often we do not do in our go society, our path is very visible. Like it's apparent. There's messages always pointing to us, but we have to listen, and we need to slow down so that we can see. So yeah, I think what attracted all of us together is just like that. There's like just a thing. I remember when I've met each and every one of you. I remember when I meet each and every one of you, like clear. And there's something to that. And I don't know what that is yet. And I'm learning, right? We're all learning. So I think we answered kind of those first two questions, Taya. So let's just skip to that next one. Taya? Are we still there?
I muted myself, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Next question is, what happened in your life as you took the course, and how did your life change after? I guess if you could be a little bit more specific, like maybe a couple things that really stood out first afterwards. Luis, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think during the course, it was just kind of getting clarity, having some sort of, because like you guys said, we've all done our own, self-improvement journey, and whether we were fans of Aubrey's podcast or other kind of modalities of like growth and learning, there was like this real powerful kind of framework provided, and maybe things that I've heard of before, but in like the structure of having a group, having a community, having like-minded people, we realize, like as cliche as it is, that everybody feels the same thing. We're all going through the same thing, but having like the tribe that's really a little bit more in tune with kind of like just similar values and similar interests, and then framing that kind of like structure, it just started bringing clarity. And so there's this kind of idea of like a design partner, which is somebody that kind of helps you dig, somebody that like makes you, not necessarily gives you answers to things, but makes you answer your own questions. And I found a lot of that in the group, in our mastermind, going through the course kind of within the framework. And then afterwards, we kind of took that along and used it for our growth. So, life changed after that with just kind of following this approach where all of us were growing, all of us were at different places, but we had something to work with as a foundation, which was super valuable.
Amazing. Thank you so much. How about you, Sloan?
I'm gonna relook at the question just because I was all right. So basically, what happened during the course is pretty much the question. Yeah. So like when I like showed up to the whole go for your win kind of thing, I was like I was struggle city with as far as my depression goes, and that's something I've dealt with for like I can remember feeling like feelings of depression even as like a little kid. And so like I remember at the graduation just being like so fucking just like super confused and just like like deep in the middle of the struggle. You know what I mean? And like fuck, what I'm doing is not working, and like I don't know what to do, and how do I like I don't know. It was a really, really fucking tough time in my life. And like, it's not like, I feel like that's something that for someone like me, I'm just going to have to learn to deal with, indefinitely. But, anyways, like one part of, like my, I guess like growth or like the path that I've been on is like I feel like the most important part I got out of the Go For Your Win course was the people and the relationships, and like people like Pang and Luis and Layla and Godsey and everybody like have seen me through like some seriously difficult times. Like I remember one time we had a mastermind at the fucking library, and it was just like I was just like barely keeping it together, and it was like a just kind of like a safe like family sort of feeling environment, just to like have that be seen by other people was helpful. And like the lack of judgment for that like really just I don't know, made a big difference for me. But yeah, so like that's kind of, I don't even remember the question now. But that's where I was when I was doing the course. Like I had just gotten home from Peru, and like I saw Aubrey's like ayahuasca documentary, and I was like, oh, like the calling to like go down there and work with Don Howard was like super fucking strong. And like when I graduated, I had just gotten back from Peru, and that was like the beginning of like this probably like another journey that I'll never be done with. And I ended up going back there again like 7 months later for like a second cycle of work. And yeah, I feel like between the people that I met at Go For Your Win and then like the work that I started there with Don Howard are probably like maybe two, other than my folks or something like that, like the two biggest factors in like the growth and the path that I find myself on now.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I wanted to say like it's really awesome that you can be open about that, because it's such taboo still to talk about like mental health, and so
especially
many
as a
people,
dude.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I feel like it's just like a weak like it's just like there's no bearded dudes talking about like their
Very
struggle,
true.
you know. So.
And what's crazy is what's been crazy to me, and what really pushed me to share more was that I realized how much more I could connect with people who dealt with the same stuff as me, because we're all human, as somebody was talking about. We all go through the same stuff pretty much, and we all want to deal with it all by ourselves. Like it makes no sense to me, because we're most of the time like we're going through life trying to look good and not look bad, and it's been like labeled as weak or whatever to deal with these issues, yet so many people deal with them. So I just wanted to say thank you again for bringing that.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll talk about our biggest takeaways from the course, but I'm going to talk about being vulnerable. And that was another big takeaway for me, is being vulnerable. I suffered a traumatic brain injury, as you all know, in May 2010. And it's something I never talked about to anyone until I talked to Blake Andrews, until Connor Moore, actually, he encouraged me to post that in the group when we're introducing yourselves. Connor, throughout the course, encouraged me to be vulnerable, and also Blake. And then when I was for the Go For Your Win Mastermind, I was telling Blake how I never told anyone about like the difficulties I was having because of my brain injury, like the anger, the impulsivity, like depression, the anxiety, just like losing things all the time, like all the struggles I was gonna have to going through. And instead, I was trying to put on like the image that everything is perfect, everything is fine, and people can't relate with perfect. People can't relate with no fault. And so it's when we allow our authenticity, our true selves to shine, that's when we attract. And I think that's how we've all attracted each other. So just like thank you everyone for being vulnerable. Luis, Sloan, Eric Sloan, and Ha Sloan times two. And now I know Layla, when she tells her biggest takeaway, I know she's going to get vulnerable, because Layla is someone who's inspires me to keep on being vulnerable, keep on sharing my truth, because there's only growth from that. There's only learning that comes from that. When we step up into our fears, that's when we grow. That's when we really start to soar.
Absolutely. And I think having like a safe container, like Sloan touched on, as well as Luis, makes such a powerful impact in pushing past the resistances you have on being seen. One of my biggest challenges was just sharing of myself more and being seen. Like I've always been one to have like a very powerful, close-knit group of friends, but then since I moved to Austin, I was operating as a lone wolf. And with creating like this community, actually that was like my biggest like thing from the course, was creating the community, like they touched on, and having like a structure and container to do it within. And the consistency of doing it actually created a slow progression of moving through that vulnerability, because it created safety and trust and lack of judgment. And I think that's one of the healing pieces that we often overlook, is like the role community plays in our healing, and showing up and sharing into your community and having that support system. Because we do so much personal development, self-development, but like doing it amongst a community of like-minded people that can hold space for you and reflect back to you, that's like a next tier of the healing and the hero's journey. So that my biggest thing was like creating that tribe that I didn't have before.
Thank you for sharing. And so I think like my next question, we're going to talk about our biggest takeaways from Go For Your Win, and we'll kind of go back to some of the things we just said. Like my biggest takeaways were, remember, process over
perfection.
No, process over our destination, right? Process over our destination, and by connecting with the community. And it's by going out of your way. I connected with the community by posting on the Facebook group. I connected the first night in Austin. Instead of staying in my hotel, I went and met up with Blake, his bike ride. And then I met with like a whole bunch of awesome people in that group. And then the next day I went and introduced and talked to people. It's putting yourself out there and not being afraid to do that, and being vulnerable. So those are my big takeaways from Go For Your Win 1. How about you, Sloan? What would you say your biggest takeaways from Go For Your Win was, and this whole process that we've been in together?
Give me a minute. Go to somebody else and come back to me.
Yeah, Luis or Layla?
I would say, again, kind of I'm going to touch on this again, that, again, we all kind of deal with the same thing. So the biggest takeaway, while I agree with you, we are focused, at least at this point, we are focused on more of the process instead of results at the beginning. You learn to kind of trust your own inner Damien, right? As Godsey would say. So the biggest takeaway is, as you kind of develop and work through these things in a safe container, be okay kind of taking these risks within yourself, within your business, within your life. And so what I would kind of caveat to the process and not the journey, or not the end result, is it's like this iterative journey. If you can kind of find that place while you're going through it, or as you start, to look at what you're working towards as far as like clarity on your goal. And then how, as you go through this process, maybe in the beginning, you do need to just focus on keeping your head down, focus on the process, but remember to look up and enjoy the world, right? Enjoy life, but also see what you're working towards. Because for me, again, at a certain point, most of our Damien does know what's better. It's our inner dialogue, like our inner wisdom that really kind of has the knowledge of the universe. And tapping into that is a process. But once you do tap into it, you'll learn that what works for some people is not going to work for you. What works for you may be uniquely yours, but that kind of like flowing into it and being a little bit more fluid with things is an important thing, I think, to remember as you go on this journey and as you go forward, because that was, I think, the biggest takeaway to this day. It's always changing, always evolving as far as growth and where you're at. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's beautiful. See, like when we have a group like this, we all see our lenses are all a little bit different. So you see things a bit different. And something I just heard there. I'm like, oh yeah, like I was forgetting about that. Right. So thank you for reminding me. Layla, your biggest from Go For Your Win 1.
Yeah. So Luis, I've got to say, like, that was really well articulated. So I really appreciate how you showed up for that answer. That touched on something which is essentially like envision. So there's a practice that you'll get to in the Go For Your Win program, but one of the practices is envisioning a full day from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed in your life, maybe 3 years from now, for example. And after Aubrey had released Go For Your Win, he released the book Own the Day, which is essentially like, if you were to master one entire day in your life, what would that look like? And that practice for me was pretty pivotal because it allowed me to envision in a way that I had limited myself in the past. There had always been stipulations in my mind of like, these things have to happen for me to be able to achieve this dream vision. But it's like putting that aside and just allowing yourself to dream big, but then not being so focused on just achieving that and making it bite-sized pieces to getting there. So like reverse engineering it. There's a concept Tim Ferriss talks about, which is like, what is the smallest actionable step you can take right now to get to that point? And within our community, like the first actionable step was allowing myself to see the vision, but then breaking it down and sharing with my community to have them be a soundboard so it's not just in my head. Because as Luis mentioned, like a lot of times we have the answers that we're seeking. And I think with practices that Glatzi really talks about, which is like journaling, allow that inner wisdom to come through you and for you to be your own guide to some extent. But with masterminds, you also have this community of people that can ask more questions of you, more unbiased questions, or maybe they are biased because they want your best interest, but they can essentially reflect back to you maybe some of your blind spots. And that will make you more well-rounded as you're approaching the next step in your biggest dream. So that was the biggest takeaway, or gateway, which is what my Freudian slip was going to be, to achieving the next level of being seen.
I think you froze for a little bit. Are you done talking? Oh, you're good. Okay. I just wanted to say I have never, like, I'm super stoked for that because I've done a lot of like visualization and meditation and all this stuff, but I've never thought about that kind of reverse engineering and like taking it, because it's very overwhelming thinking about how, like, where you want your life to be and where you are now and being like, well, fuck, I don't know how that's going to happen. But I love that, like, bite-sized pieces, and I'm stoked for that lesson. Thank you.
We're here for you, girl.
All right, Sloan, did you have anything you wanted to throw in there? Or?
Yeah, I wrote down some stuff because my brain's not very good. Okay. So, like, one thing that's been coming up for me lately that I feel like was probably something that was talked about, I'm not sure, but is like just taking some sort of steps towards the things that scare you and like going towards the things that you're fearful of. And like the other thing I wrote down is like just taking some sort of step, you know what I mean? And it doesn't necessarily even need to be the right step, but just like, for me, I feel like maybe part of my struggle is like in action or something like that. And like I have all these like things that I feel like I should do or I could do or I ought to do and like da 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 da. And really I feel like just like taking a step and usually towards something that's like kind of scary to you is probably like a good way through if you're feeling stuck. And then the other thing I wrote down, which is kind of similar too, is like so there's this quote that Don Howard told me when I was like in like a very difficult time, and he always says like, you don't get what you want, you get what you need. And it's just like, for me, like when everything is going wrong and it's just like things are bad, you know, and you're really struggling, just to know that like, all right, like this is like, I don't want this, like this is not what I want, this is not like, but in this thing that I'm dealing with, like I'm gaining something out of it, you know what I mean? And that quote has been like, I feel like I should get that tattooed on me or something. It's been like super, like it's been like a big part of my life, you know, over the past like 3 years, you know, like very, very helpful in some extremely dark times for sure.
Do you want to say that quote one more time?
You don't get what you want, you get what you need.
And who told you that?
Don Howard.
Yeah, tell us who Don Howard is for those that don't know.
Like so Don Howard, he passed away probably a couple, like I want to say like 6 months ago, but he was like the owner and facilitator and like one of the shaman at Spirit Quest Sanctuary, which is like that basically Aubrey's ayahuasca documentary was filmed there, and like Don Howard was like the main character, like the main topic of the documentary.
So you're telling me to check that out. Now he's a man worth listening to.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so we got a bit into resistance, which I think that leads us to our next thing we want to chat with you all about.
Okay, so what would you say your biggest point of resistance was while you were taking the course, or then while you're taking the course, and then now what's the biggest thing that you deal with?
I would say at the beginning, and it's still a day-to-day task, is just digging past insecurities. You know, I'm aware now, you know, a lot more than I was then, of my insecurities and kind of comparison, trauma that we all deal with. But for me, it was kind of looking at that, and first step, you know, back to like the vulnerability, having this group to share that with. That was a big point of resistance, because at some point that same thing, that mask that we've worn, has kept us safe, you know, and we all find coping mechanisms to like deal with being us. And that's like really what leads to most of the darkness that I've seen, whether it's drugs or, you know, behavioral issues or, you know, any of these paths, is because we're so afraid to be who we are. That we wear masks, and the only way to like deal with ourselves is we have to medicate through different methods or behavior, or even, you know, going after success for the wrong reasons, where that becomes an addiction. So that is like this very counterintuitive like key, because as soon as you begin to face that resistance of be who you are, not everybody's going to like you, you know, as long as you're a good person and you lead with your truth, which is your truth is based in kindness, is based in love, like be who you are, and you're not going to vibe with everybody, and you're going to break away from certain people, sometimes your own family, sometimes situations, but you learn to be there more for others at that point. But the beginning of it is one of those things, like, you know, you listen to entrepreneurs or anybody that's done anything great, like the first year is the hardest thing. Your first fundraise is like the toughest. And then it gets easier after that, because it's such a learning curve at the beginning. It's the same thing with this resistance of be yourself, put yourself out there, accept that not everybody's gonna like you, and you free up a lot of energy, like in facing that resistance, because it'll still come in different times. Our insecurities, my insecurities, my comparison syndromes. But in those times, I'm so recharged with energy when I am more myself and less afraid, because you are not focused on something you can't control. You're then focused on what you can control, which is, manifesting your destiny. So it's an ongoing process, but that's the biggest resistance then and maybe now.
Thank you. Who's up next?
Okay, I'll go.
Now and then.
Yeah, so like I feel like for me it's probably the same thing then and now. It's probably the same thing, and I don't like this is probably something that I'm gonna have to work on for who knows how long. But like I have like this very old and like deeply rooted, like it's not even a belief, it's more like a feeling in my core that I'm just like not enough. And that leads me to like then you're showing up in the world in a way where you're like trying to be something other than what you really are, I guess. And yeah, it's just something like for me that's been like a root cause, like when I'm really like honest with myself, and like I've done a lot of digging around, you know what I mean? And like this like deeply held like feeling like that, like inherently there's something that's just like not enough about me, like just as a human being. Really it's like it's something that I have to deal with and like think about and like address, like on a day-to-day basis, because if I don't, then I just go into this like autopilot that I've been doing for 30 something years, you know what I mean? But it's like I feel like in order to fix something, first you have to like know what's wrong, and then you can like pay it attention, and yeah, so
No,
still for me is like this deeply held belief that I have.
well, one thing I know for sure in my heart, Eric Sloan and Ty Ha Sloan, both of you, because I know you both are dealing with this. So both Sloans, Eric Sloan, you are enough. Ty Ha Sloan, you are enough. And Luis, we'll see that about Eric Sloan. Layla knows that about Eric Sloan. And one thing I've only like realized is no matter how much we tell them, they have to come to that themselves, right? He has all his pattern since childhood telling him he's not enough, not enough. So we look at him at the outside, like nice, beautiful beard. He's jacked. Sloan's jacked. And the same thing with Ty Sloan. Like she's like gorgeous. She's beautiful, and they both don't think like they're beautiful. They don't think they're enough, and it's because they have that programming running in their head. So us telling them you're enough, that's not going to help them. I think one way we could help them is by showing them, by listening to them, by having compassion for them, by being there. I think that's how we help people realize that they are enough. And it starts with the self, knowing that I am enough, and that Luis, you are enough, and that Layla is enough. I think that's how I help you guys and help myself in the process. And it starts with you. So to help someone else feel that they're enough, like you need to believe that yourself. So start going in.
And I just wanted to say I really, really resonated with a lot of that. And I think, I'm so far from where I used to be, but it's like going to be a lifelong journey, I'm pretty sure, with reprogramming and rewiring everything in my brain. And I'm sure everybody who deals with this kind of stuff, like that's just how it goes. But I think what you said about the awareness is absolute key. Like you can't change anything. You're not going to be able to change anything if you just allow yourself to be in those thoughts. And once you become the awareness of those thoughts, you're no longer identifying with them, you're observing them, and you can kind of detach yourself from them a lot easier. But you do have to, work at being able to become aware of those thoughts. And I know so many people in the group have shared so much that they've dealt with you know, whether it be drug abuse or depression or anxiety, all of the things, it all kind of stems from that our society just has a problem of you are not enough, you know what I mean? And I think so many people can resonate with what you just said, and the more that we kind of realize that everybody's dealing with that kind of thing, the more we can connect on it and discuss it with each other and support each other in it, because a lot of the time you just kind of keep that stuff to yourself and try to deal with it yourself, and it's really, really hard to do that. So the first thing to do, I think, is share about it and be real and authentic with what you're dealing with, and then you can realize, wow, so many other people deal with this and we can all work through it together.
And realizing that asking for help is one of the greatest strengths. It's one of the greatest strengths, asking for help. Layla, your biggest piece of resistance then and today?
So I think everybody's really done a good job, like sharing a lot of what I would find similar to my resistances. Again, critical piece was being seen. And through the process of having this community and like showing up and being seen by my inner tribe was really helpful in me gaining momentum and just kind of exuding and sharing more of myself. So I think that is like such a helpful piece to have your community where you show up as vulnerably as possible. I created a challenge for myself probably 2 years after doing the program where I was like, okay, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of all the things I want to share that I don't. And it was like, just bite-sized piece, like, well, can you, and this was like creating an experiment with my tribe, like asking the guys, like, what are some ideas y'all have, and like us approaching it. And we even did like a 60-day challenge all together of like one thing we wanted to work on individually. It was super unique to what each of us was going through. And I think my challenge that I shared was I want to share a piece of authentic content on Instagram every day for 60 days. And that was so challenging for me because I battle between not being enough and then feeling like I'm too much. And there's like not this parts integration of just being who I am. And it got to a point where I'm like, you know, do it for yourself. Do it for the you that wants to look back and say, what did 60 days in your world look like? And just taking it back to, instead of like the gravity of, being seen by the world, it's like, be ready to be seen by yourself. And going back to the pieces that both the Sloans shared was like just that acknowledgement of the parts of you that you want to improve is such a key to unlocking that door. Just witness it and have acknowledgement of it, and then that will be the catalyst to things progressing.
That's amazing. Thank you. I think, Taha, how about you ask them for, well, I guess I'll just ask this question. What would be your guys' advice for like Taha and any other Go For Your Win 3 members, as not only they begin their course, but they've already begun. They're going for the win. They said yes by enrolling the course. So what's your advice for Taha and all those others who just recently said yes, just recently stepped into that new space?
I would say, like, firstly, do all the written practices that are in there. That is so helpful. And as Eric Godsey talks about, like, start a journaling practice, like, now. You know, spend some time every morning or in the evening and just reflect back on your takeaways. And I think that'll be really helpful in your momentum that you gain. And also know that, like, you know, you might not have all the clarity and all the answers right now, but every step that you take, like, in this direction will lead you to that level of clarity. So just believe in the potential, and like also believe in the limitless potential, because if you would have told any of us 4 years ago that our worlds would be created into the way it is now, we would have been like, there's no way. So yeah, just start a journaling practice, really kind of like dive in and maybe review some of the past exercises that you've gone through within the Go For Your Win course, and create a community. It's super helpful, and evaluate, you know, what is nourishing to you, and really kind of take steps towards that. You know, you've already said yes to the call, you've heeded the hero's call, so yeah, just believe in the potential.
Yeah, I love that advice. And if you have like trouble journaling, like what got me into journaling, it was the 5-minute journal. You write 3 things. It starts with a morning quote, 3 things you're grateful for. Always add the why. That's so powerful. And in Taiha, not only always add the why, but what else do we throw in there?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then 3 things you look forward to about the day, and visualize that. Visualize those 3 things. And then an affirmation statement. I am, because after that's like those are the most 2 powerful words. After that is whatever we choose. But another way that Eric loves is stream of consciousness journaling, where you just write for 3 pages nonstop. And if that's still hard for you, enroll in Eric Godse's Making Your Myth 2.0 course. It's on his website, Eric. And now this is not a plug. Like I just benefited so much from it myself, and I want to share that. I want to share that with y'all. It really helped me take my journaling practice to the next level, take my life to the next level, take me here. So how about you, Eric or Luis? What's some advice you have for Taiha as she begins this course, as she steps into her yes?
I'll go.
Go,
Layla, those are perfect points. So I agree with everything she said, of course. But kind of back on the same vein of just, dig in, kind of generously give, show your nakedness in a way that, again, is honest and true, and do the same for others, as far as much as you are being vulnerable and maybe showcasing a little bit of the harder parts, that is being vulnerable, your truth and kind of the nakedness of it. Be there for others too, because again, no matter where you're at, I think one of the best advice going into this is to know that even if you don't feel, that you're at this level, you have to be at this place where you can give this advice, like what you have can benefit somebody else. And it usually does. And it's a mutual exchange. So dig in, be honest, and help your fellow go for your winners, with questions, give as much as you take as much as you give. And back to like what Eric was saying, like if you face your fears, like go for this uncomfortable thing, like that starts to develop that Damien, that inner wisdom in you, because it's a muscle, right? So you gotta keep going through it. And it's a wheel that feeds on itself. The more you are generous and are kind of like showcasing and are showing up, digging, the more you're kind of comfortable with that discomfort. And then on the back end in your day-to-day life, away from the Go For Your Win group, facing these challenges just kind of makes the other easier. And you just, the growth that comes from that, I think was kind of the best advice I got going into it that I would pass on.
Right on. And Eric, one Sloan to another.
Yeah. Like I feel like trying to find like some people where you could actually like hang out with, and like I don't know where you're located, but like maybe you can find like a group of people who are on a similar path. Because when I was living in California, it's like I was friends with people that I'd been friends with since I was a kid, and the thing that we had in common was we've known each other since we were kids, and we would go hang out and party, and like it was just that it wasn't working anymore, you know what I mean? And like I was like feeling this sort of calling to something more, like who knows what that even really means. But yeah, like a big thing for me was like just being around people who were like on a similar sort of trajectory, or like had similar interests. And yeah, I feel like that's played a huge role. And like there's this thing that like you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, you know what I mean? And like sometimes like I still really care about all the people that I have back home, but at the same time, like sometimes you just like people go in different directions, you know what I mean? And like it's okay to like just start over, kind of, sort of.
The big one.
Yeah. So yeah, just like connection. Okay. That's it.
Yeah, no,
Thank
yeah.
you. I really resonate with that too, because I have so many of those types of friends, and you just have different relationships. But I think I live in San Diego now, so I moved away from the Bay Area where all my friends who I went to school with are and everything. And, you know, we would party and do all that stuff all the time, and kind of separating myself from that and learning how to surround myself with people who are going to raise me up and hold me to the potential that they know me to be has been crucial for me being able to hold myself there too. So, yeah, that's such good advice.
Yeah. It's like when you're around people, like the best example is Godsey. You know what I mean? Because like if you're hanging around with people who like they're like the between him and Cliff, like the amount of growth that I've seen like from those two in a short period of time, it's like, well, fuck, I can't be like, I don't want to be left in the dust. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good to be around people who are like doing something.
Yeah, that's what brings us here with Taiha. That's why she's with us here. She's saying yes, and she's gonna lead the next way. She's gonna lead the next group through this. You have a question for them now, Taiha?
Yeah, how are we doing on time?
I think we're good. We're like we'll just wrap this up, but I think everything's flowing good. This is really good value. It's a really
this is so helpful. Like I can't even describe. Okay, what advice do you wish you could have given yourself when you first started?
Is that one directed at somebody specifically?
Anyone.
Layla doesn't have a good answer for this one.
You don't have a good answer. How about you, Sloan? What advice do you wish you would have given yourself when you first started?
Like I kind of touched on it earlier, but like just like taking some sort of action, just doing something. Even like I get stuck with like paralysis of analysis. Or is that, I don't even know if that's the saying, but like just get moving and just do something, and then do the next thing, and who knows what will come up after that. But I think Lou, you were kind of saying also like you like it's hard in the beginning to like get something big moving, you know, but like once it's moving, it's much easier to keep it going, kind of sorta. Yeah. And so for me, just like, and I still like procrastinating is my thing, so this is hard for me, you know what I mean? And just do something. Just do whatever, you know what I mean? And if it's not the right thing, that's okay too. But it's like, then you figure out what to do after that. And then like some other shit will happen, and you just keep doing something.
And those are the options, right? And like I had 2 near-death experiences. First my brain injury, then like getting hit by a drunk driver a year later. Like you never know when your time is gonna come. So you move forward right now, or you don't. And you don't have to move forward by quitting your job at this instant. You don't have to go fly on a plane to India. You don't even break up with your husband, your wife. You don't need to do it like these huge fucking things. Bring awareness to your breath. How am I breathing? What's my posture? What message am I sending to my brain with my posture? What's my vibration? What's my energy I'm putting out? What am I taking in? Am I present? Am I here? Am I now? Or am I caught up in the past? Am I caught up in the future? Small steps. And it's also a bit of a trick question, because we can't change the past. If I answered myself, what advice would I have given myself when I first started? I would have said nothing. I would have smiled at myself. I would have beamed my smile, my energy in that human's way, and that's it. I wouldn't want to change a thing, because I wouldn't want to change where I am right now. We have to just accept what was, take a look what is, and move forward or not. That's what I would say about this question.
Yeah, I think that's so good. Like you can't change it, so it is what it is to some extent. But if I could say anything, it'd be let go sooner. You know, because letting go is also a lifelong process. Let go of what you can't control. Again, you can't control how people are gonna see you. You can't control that coronavirus happening. You can't control a lot of shit. So let go sooner and control that you can manifest your potential, which is again improving yourself, challenging yourself, facing your truths. And double down on self-love, you know, like for me that love yourself like your life depends on it. I forgot the book, Ramit maybe, I think is the author. Anyways, it's this practice of, just constantly reminding yourself that you love yourself, because that's part of what lifts up this kind of veil and mask that we've been wearing of that's the one, of just like pain. So in letting go, learning that, love yourself, and then begin working on attention management. Like attention is so huge. Like there's billions of dollars. I work in marketing, I work in branding. Like there's so much money pulled towards getting your attention. If you now start practicing with meditation, with journal on attention management, if I could have told myself that when I started, like that is the most crucial thing. Anybody who I admire, anybody that I know that's holistically successful financially, with good friends, good family, good health, they are not pulled by things. And that's a muscle, because there's so many things, like Tyhad said, like society does set us up, to not love ourselves. And it's because it's kind of beneficial for it too. So man, 3 things: let go sooner, begin with attention management, and double down on self-love.
All right, thank you. And we're going to head to our last question. And our last question is from our next week's guest. Who are we interviewing next week, Tyha?
We're interviewing Cody Hofstadter. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Cody Hofstadter, a badass motherfucker. Coach at Audit MMA, 10th planet jiu-jitsu coach. He was a teammate, a leader, a fighter at Jackson Winklejohn, one of the top MMA gyms at the world, where one of my idols, GSP, traveled down south to travel down there in Albuquerque. Speaking of Albuquerque, Leo Savage, we want that brother on there too. And we're going to get other winners on this call. And one thing I know for sure, Cody Hofstadter is a winner, and he is in your group. He is in this Go For Your Win course. To move one step closer to his dream. And that's, and he'll talk more about that next week. And it's a real cool one, having to do with a river, jiu-jitsu, and love. So Cody wants to ask you guys, he wants to start a mastermind group. That's his next step on getting his gym on the river, is he wants to lead a group of winners. And he's looking to find his mastermind. So if you're listening to this and you're willing to step up to the plate and rise with Cody, rise with myself, rise with Tyha, rise with Eric, Layla, Luis, people that have said yes again and again and again, reach out to Cody. And we're going to talk to Cody about who reached out to him last week. We're going to find out who in this group are $1 sideline players and who are five-star winners. So Cody wants to know, how do I start a mastermind? And what are some mistakes or pitfalls I should avoid when trying to start a mastermind? So that's for all 3, and we'll close with that question.
Awesome. I'll start with this one. So before I planted the seed for the Go For Your Win Mastermind, I've been running 2 other masterminds here in Austin. And so the biggest thing to getting going with a mastermind is just put it out there and find a common chord with your audience members or the people that you want in your group. So what are some of like the foundational key characteristics of the individuals that you want in this intimate community with you? Because these individuals are going to be your soundboard. They're going to bring perspective to you. And you're also going to create a sense of trust and family with them, because you will be spending significant time diving deep into your shadows, your resistances, your vulnerability. So find the common characteristics you're looking for. Just plant that seed. Also, diversity is really important in a mastermind, because you want people that will provide perspectives that aren't within your common sphere of knowledge. So even within our group, it was so potent because we had so many different ideologies and skill sets that we were able to provide questions back and forth to each other that were something we would never have considered before. Another key component, I think, is dynamics. This is something like you don't think about often, but also like thinking about like the ratio of masculine to feminine. It was interesting within our group because I was the only girl and it was all guys. And I thrive in that environment because I have a brother and I've grown up like with big groups of like guy big brothers. But like dynamics are really important. And I think it helped, being in a relationship with one of our mastermind members, because it kind of like was a consistent glue that kind of held us together in a sense. And then as far as things to look for to like optimize the mastermind, keep the numbers to your mastermind down. Like I think like 8+ people is too many, because you can't give the dedicated attention to each person within a group. I think our group was how many people, guys? It was like Godsey, Cliff, Sloan, Luis, me and Rob, and then you and Blake. I mean, so we had a good sized group. It was like anywhere between 7 to 9 people. So, I mean, keep it small, and then also keep it consistent. Do them regularly, because part of the magic of having a mastermind is the consistency that creates trust in your ability to show up more vulnerably with time. And as you see with our group, 4 years in, and we have such powerful dynamics and history and memories together that wouldn't have been possible if we just did it as a one-off. So create like a day that works for you. And maybe it's like the first Sunday of every month at a time, and set aside like 3 hours possibly. And I think time management is really important with masterminds. So for us, we created an algorithm and we stuck to it. And it was pretty much like we tackle 3 areas of life, or 3 areas for each individual, which is business, personal, and relationship, I think. And so every time we would dive into those, and we would talk about what our wins were for each category and what our challenges were for each category. And we would do kind of like a round table after each person shared, and provide insight, feedback, questions, entrepreneurial resources. So that was another thing, the part of the diversity element of having people with different backgrounds is they can provide different resources. Like, Luis, I have a whole notebook of suggestions he's given me on books I should read, podcasts I should like go to based on what I was going through at the time. And I think it's also nice having an element of a scribe in a mastermind, like just a really good note taker that can provide more insight. Because part of the vulnerability piece is like when you're sharing, even with your own intimate group, you blank out and you're like just being on the spot. It's like that teacher calling on you and be like, go to the front of the class and share. I feel like in the beginning, you don't absorb as much as like you can as far as the beneficial tools that are being shared with you. So having a scribe is super helpful. So those are my key tools that I would suggest, and just do it. There is a whole world of people that want allies and need family and would like a tribe. And it just takes the hero stepping up to the plate like you've done, Pang, as you are doing, Kaihan, and like everybody to just like be an outlet for people that need a tribe to migrate to.
Who are you gonna be? Luis, Eric, would love to hear what your guys' advice just on starting a mastermind, pitfalls and mistakes that you've made. I know I made some mistakes with my mastermind last time. I'm gonna mention those briefly, but what are some things you've advised for starting a mastermind? How do you find the people that like? Where do you start? What do you think?
Yeah, Layla's the master of masterminding, so all that is like so valuable. But yeah, and timers, definitely use a timer. That helped with all that. But for me, just kind of simply, again, when you're finding this kind of synergy and what works, be yourself so that you can find people who you align with, but also find people who challenge you. So it's this weird balance of go where there is these people that will help elevate you. And then also, again, personally, it's good to flow in certain aspects depending where you're at. If you find your groove within a group, like know that sometimes there's different elements that you can pull from this mastermind, and then you can kind of share and spread that as you see fit. So, it wasn't uncommon to have 2 or 3 masterminds that, as long as it's productive, as long as you're not spreading yourself thin, because again, you want to be with people who align. That way you have, you're already going to be vulnerable. The feeling of judgment and that whole experience is a demon in itself that you're tackling. And so be okay with kind of figuring out that your first mastermind might mold into something, or it might be one of a couple that really feed and help you nurture people. And then again, don't be afraid of stepping up and let your ego make you step away from challenges, or maybe somebody that's pushing in a good way. And I think a good way for me, and that is like finding people who ask questions, finding people, if they're giving you advice, if they're very much like that, most people are doing it with a good heart, but you want people who are going to let you dig, be generous, help you, but kind of be that partner for you, be that sounding more than the guru on the mountain preaching down to you type shit, you know? So that's kind of what I would say is the best advice, that balance between the two. People that challenge you and then people that you vibe with, and just scale that.
Yeah. And that's like you said, that might not happen on the first go around, right? And it's like learning from your mistakes, but like you have to start to get to that tribe, to get to that your dream community. You're going to have to start this one, and maybe you'll bring along 2 of those to your next tribe. And then like, we're not always meant to always be on the path together, but there are some people that are, and the people that I'm in this conversation are people that are. Like Eric Sloan, you're my lifelong brother. Luis, lifelong brother. Layla, lifelong sister. And Taiha, you're in the family. Eric.
Yeah, I feel like everybody took all the things I was gonna say.
Well, maybe you can help me with mine. We can maybe help with mine. Like my thing that I did bad with my second group is the group went great, but I had too many expectations. I was looking for 3 Taihas rather than seeing people for who they were. So people weren't. I had too many expectations of people. So how do we manage expectations? This is for all you, and even Taiha. How do we manage expectations when we're forming these groups? And expectations are beyond groups. They have to do with everything. Expectations of ourselves, expectations. Let's talk about that to close.
Well, I feel like, kind of in like talking about the mastermind group thing, it's like they're not all going to be home runs. You're going to show up at some shit and be like, these guys, like, this is weird. And I am not like, you're like, yeah, you're some weird shit's probably going to go down. And that's just like part of it. And for me, like, I feel like just facing that resistance, because even like this call, it's like, I don't really want to do, like, man, you know, I don't know. And then like once you go to the thing, or like you do the call, or you start talking, or you start sharing or whatever, then like it just becomes better. But you have to just kind of like just go towards that thing that's uncomfortable. And like I feel like if you go into it knowing also like there's a good chance that this is going to suck and these people are going to be strange, you know, then it like takes a lot of the pressure off, you know what I mean? So yeah, just like go and put yourself out there, and like if it's great, that's awesome. And if it's not, like you just have to you have to take some swings before you get a hit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and don't take it personally too. I think that's like a reminder for me, is like I can't take like what happened personally. It just was what it was, and it needed to be to get to us where we are now. And it's just a part of the learning. And like, yeah, it just get back at the plate and keep on swinging, because we never know we're gonna get that next at bat.
Yeah, and I think going back to what Luis said a while ago, which I've just been rereading about in the book The Untethered Soul, which is like my favorite book. But just like, if you're only gonna, like, if you have those expectations, and I know we've talked about what happened and everything, like the longer that you hold on to whatever that's causing you, whatever negative feelings those are causing you, that's just going to keep you from stepping into your power and going for your wins. So the sooner that you can just let that stuff go and just move on, and remember, as you said, like that you wouldn't be where you are without that experience, then the better, right?
Thank you. And I think that's the perfect way to close. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Layla. Thank you, Eric Sloan. Where can people find you?
Thank you, guys. I'm on Instagram at BeImperial, B-E Imperial with an I.
Eric Sloan, where can people find you?
You're muted, bro.
You guys aren't gonna find it.
I'm an idiot. Bogey says hello.
Boaster.
We put him on the camera a bit more first. We need to get some more Bogey.
I'm confused. Anyways, my Instagram got taken down, so I started a new one. It's
Magic
Sloan
Mike.
Builds Shit. Find me on that.
It's a good.
Sloan Build Shit. All right, find him there. And Layla, where could the winners find you?
Awesome. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Layla Leah, LaylaLeah. And also, I share nutritional education through the Alive and Well Austin platform. So check out Alive and Well Austin for anybody in Austin doing the Go For Your Win Mastermind. Connect with me. Love to get you out here and support you guys on your journey. So don't hesitate to reach out, and you're on the right path. You heeded the call, and keep going through your hero's journey. You have an awesome support team that would love to share their former wisdom, and just know that the person that you are right now is 5 steps ahead of where you were a couple of years ago, and there is some people that are right there where you were. So don't hesitate to share your message, because someone needs to hear it just the way you need to share it to have the impact in their lives. No one's walked the miles you've walked. So share your world, share your insights, and keep showing up. So pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Derek, and good to see my fellow tribesmen and meet a new tribeswoman, and looking forward to what the future holds.
Absolutely. And with that, let's raise our fists in the air, and we're gonna do a virtual fist bump for Tyha. Welcome to the circle, Tyha.
Good.
Thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed listening to everything that you guys had to say and just getting to know you. And I'm super stoked for all of this. And thank you, Derek, for this opportunity and putting this all together and bringing me into your circle so that I can help show others what they can be capable of too. So.
Amen, sister.
Amen. And we're welcoming everyone into the circle, and we're going to be releasing these weekly, and we're going to be speaking to other winners. As I said, we have Cody Hofstadter coming up next week. He's looking for a mastermind group. Reach out to him. We have Anna Gym's head female coach, Natalie Higby, coming up. We have Cal Callahan from the Great Unlearned podcast. We have Aubrey Marcus's longtime podcast team, Ryan Giles, Christopher Cortinez, we have Sam Pogue lined up, Josh Orenstein, John Clemens, Ashley Clemens, Christian Placentia, and so many more. I'd love to get my mentors on here. Shane Hines from On It, my black belt teacher, Glenn Flamon. I know you're listening. Love and appreciation. And leave the comments below. Who else do you want to see on here? And what happened at graduation, you guys? My Go For Your Win one. Who did we celebrate with in the end? Who we celebrated with Aubrey. And on our graduation episode, I don't want to have anything to do with that episode. I want Aubrey and Tyha to dance. So if you want Aubrey and Tyha to dance, and if you think she earned that opportunity by stepping up to the plate and saying yes to these 15 episodes for you, to invite you to the winner circle, to show you that you too can join. All you have to do is say yes and take that one step forward. Doesn't matter how big. I think we get that interview. This is a 15-week journey to bring Tyha to her conversation with Aubrey and have their dance in the winner circle, and then she could lead the next group, the Go For Your Win 4. I could walk off into my sunset, and Tyha could take it away and just be her. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't hesitate to reach out.
Love y'all.
Thank you again. So good to talk with you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.